What does character development entail? Are you writing a backstory?
To me, that's everything. It's everything. Here's another one of my sayings. Ready? Begin with character, end with character, find the story in between. I don't care what paradigm people have in terms of story structure. How you get there is critical. And so you start with your characters. That's my take. Again, there's not one right way to do this. I'm just saying that this, I think, is a smart way to go about it. Because the characters, it's their story. If we're writing a story, we are assuming that in some magical, mystical way, that story universe exists. Those characters exist. And if it's their story, they know it better than we do. And so character development is about getting curious. It's about asking questions. It's about spending time with the characters. And so the typical things that we see, like biographies and questionnaires, those are great. I call those indirect engagement exercises because you're reflecting on the character, you're thinking about the character, as opposed to direct engagement exercises. So for example, what if I have a character in mind? I'm going to imagine I'm a psychiatrist. This character is my patient. And if they're reticent to talk to me, I can even go one step further. They have been court appointed to appear with me as a psychiatrist, and they have to answer my questions. If they don't, they will stay stuck in the situation until they do. So you just create a situation in which, like I was saying earlier, you just ask questions. You get curious. That's a lesson I learned when I was an Air Force brat. You just ask people questions, you get them talking. And so you type, you just let it go. You can even do something, it's a little bit spiritual, I suppose you'd say in a way, where you're gonna do either a monologue or a stream of consciousness with the character. It's sort of like a Vulcan mind meld, like Star Trek, where you get a character in your mind and you do some deep breathing, you get yourself, so you're transitioning out of the busy world and you're gonna be here now with this character. And you set a timer for like 15 minutes and you put your fingers on the keyboard or pen on paper and you close your eyes and you just type and you just type. And your mind will go, oh, I got to get groceries or the cat and whatever. Just let that go. You don't get attached to it. You just keep coming back to this character and you get done with this. And so you've got all these words that you've typed out. Some of them are like dialogue, like a monologue, and some of them are just like stream of consciousness. 80% of it may seem like gobbledygook to you, maybe 90%, but 20% or 10%, there's something really interesting that popped out there. And that's getting in touch with the characters at a subconscious level. And they start to talk to you. I've seen this happen time and time again. I created a prep class 10 years ago that I teach online, 6-week workshop, taking a story from concept to outline. And the first 4 weeks are all character development. The second week is brainstorming. That's all they do is brainstorm. And I've had hundreds of people tell me that was the most eye-opening experience for them, was doing that type of work. Again, the characters exist. We act on that belief. And we reach out to them and get them talking to us. So the character development, those are some great examples for character development. What can happen out of that is if you identify a protagonist in particular, their state of disunity, where they are disconnected from their authentic nature, and that can inform, if you know what the disunity state is, that can inform where the unity state is. And so now they're not going to just jump there. Then you're going to say, okay, so these plot elements and the characters with whom they intersect, they're going to deconstruct their old ways of being because they don't work out here in the new world. But in the process of that, they're going to uncover their need. Their need's going to start to emerge. This is very Jungian. Jung talks about, he says, when an inner situation is not made conscious, and he's talking about like conflict, inner conflict, it happens outside as fate. Now, I don't know if that's real in the real world, but that's the protagonist's story. The protagonist starts off in a state of disunity, and what happens in the plot is informed by that. There's a synergy between it. It's not just these random events. It's like these characters that they intersect with and the events that they go through, that's going to provide the basis of their transformation. And so their disunity, that gets deconstructed. Well, now this stuff starts to come out into the light of consciousness, their need. And then they move into reconstruction. Now they're moving into their new mode of being, and eventually toward unity. So you can take that raw material that you get with your characters and see how that starts to shape the nature of the plot, the story structure. And it's not just plugging this in, this has to happen on page 25, the break into Act 2. No, you're doing it through a much more organic fashion with your characters and letting them inform you what the structure will be. And the final value of that is that you're writing multi-layered, richly textured characters who actors want to play. So character development to me is like everything. It's absolutely critical.